Let's review the basics of drawing inside of Illustrator. Let's first look at my nephew's samples. My nephew is named Felipe. Usually how Felipe goes about drawing is he will go and draw by hand what he wants to draw in Illustrator. So he draws it as a line drawing, brings it into Illustrator, adds the objects that he wants to use for the basic shapes, and then brings it into Photoshop and adds some highlights in Photoshop. Now you could have added the highlights inside of Illustrator, but it was a little bit easier for him inside of Photoshop. So let's look at one of his drawings here. So here's the first one, second one, third one, and final here. And let's just open them up in some preview or something. Okay, here we go. Oops, that's a little too big. Let's see here. There we go. So here's a sample of how my nephew, his name is Felipe, he'll start with a line drawing inside of Illustrator, and you don't need to necessarily draw as well as Felipe does here. He does pretty good at line drawing, but then after he's done with that, he'll then go and add the basic shapes, as you can see here, using Adobe Illustrator. He uses mostly the pen tool. One of the things to consider when you're drawing inside of Illustrator is that you're drawing just basic shapes that overlap each other. As you can see, he has just simple squares that right here in the background. You can see the staff here could have been done with just the pen tool. Basic pen tool shapes. The key here is to think of how things overlap. I think his chair looks really nice with just simple highlights and dark areas. So one of the things you should consider doing when you're working inside of Illustrator is keeping things simple. As you can see here, this wonderful chair that this character is sitting on is just a simple looking chair, and it works because the highlight and the dark areas are next to each other. So we're going to go and we're going to draw some buildings, and we're going to draw some animals, and as we're drawing them we'll look at how to just make things very simple, just to give it that highlight look. Then he takes them into Photoshop, which I'm not sure he has done very successful. I kind of like it the way it was with just a simple drawing, but he adds the dark areas and the light areas using probably dodge and burn is what he was using for the tools inside of Photoshop to add the highlight and shadows to the different areas here. And then his final version was this one here. And so this was a book illustration for a book, and he does a lot of book illustrations. And you can see some of his other samples are really nice, all done like I just said, using part Illustrator, part Photoshop, and starting with a line drawing. Look at these nice cute little mice here that it has drawing, and the faces of these characters. So that's sort of how I begin. Let's just look at some of the samples that I have here. I have a scan here of a bird that I started drawing just to demonstrate the different types of objects and how you might want to go about drawing something. Again, when you're drawing something inside of Illustrator, you're drawing with shapes. And here's a stolen drawing that I have here. And I just used the pen tool to create basic shapes that go over top of it. And one of the things when you're drawing with the pen tool that you might want to try, and hopefully you've already started and tried the pen tool by now in this class. This is a more advanced class, so hopefully you've already used the pen tool and have practiced it. Again, to use the pen tool, one of the things I do is I'll turn off the fill and just leave a stroke, so you're making a line. So that's what you're looking at here in this drawing, is you'll see just lines, just lines, just lines, just lines, just lines. The reason why is as you're drawing with the pen tool, it's not covering something up. Like if I wanted to put something here in the front, if I just draw a line around it like this, you can see through and working there. The problem is is if you have a fill turned on. Let's say, oh, I wanted to draw a red circle up here in front of the bird. If you use the pen tool then and you start drawing with it, you see the red starts filling in as you're drawing, and then you can't see what's underneath it. So one of the things you should consider doing when you're drawing inside of Illustrator is just by just drawing simple lines with this red line right here says turn off the fill. And then once you're done with drawing the simple shapes that you have there, then you can start coloring them. So I can now select the bird body and give it a color if I want, and the wing body, give it a color if I want, the wing body, give it a color if I want. And then as you can see, the colors of certain things happen as you are. Let's give us a dark color here. And let's zoom in a little bit as we're doing that. So all I'm doing is selecting the shapes that I want and giving it a dark color. Selecting the shape I want, give it a dark color. And selecting the shape I want and giving it a color. And let's just say I was just picking colors, but let's say this yellow that I have right here, I want it to be the same yellow it is over here. What you could do is you could use the eyedropper. So if I select the eyedropper here, which is in the toolbar here, and select the yellow that is here, I can then come over here and oh no, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to use, I'm sorry, there's a paint bucket here, wasn't there? Where's that paint bucket tool? It's here somewhere. No, use the eyedropper. Oh no, I'm sorry. Use the eyedropper and then come over here. Let's select this object. Then use the eyedropper. Select this color and it fills it in. Sorry, it takes me a while to remember all the steps. Let me do that again. So in this case, I want to use the same yellow that I have here in this shape right here, which is the tail shape. If I select the tail shape and then go over to the eyedropper right here, see the eyedropper in the toolbar, I can just click on it and it'll then fill it in. So that's how you can choose, like if you want the same orange for this one and this one. But my whole point here is that the most important thing, as you can see, is there's objects that overlap. As you can see, this part of the wing right here is underneath this yellow body here of the bird. And again, to rearrange the objects, you can do that under Object, Arrange, bring the front, send it back and forth here. But once you're done with creating an object like this from a scan, like this was a scan or something I stole, you can select the scan that you have and delete it, and you're left with just your object here. And again, another way of saving and using your object would be to make it a symbol. So I can select my bird and make it into a symbol. And let's and all I did was drag it into the symbol pop-up menu. We can give it a name like bird or something. And then the nice thing about it, once it's in a symbol, I can remove it and then use it multiple times. The other thing that's nice about using it as a symbol is you can use the spray tool, which is this one right here, the symbol spray tool. So if I use the symbol spray tool, watch, I can spray a whole bunch of birds. Okay, so another good way of after you make a drawing is to make it just by dragging it into the symbols window and giving it a name. And then if you want to make multiple ones like I just did there, you can use what's called the symbol spray tool. It's underneath the eyedropper there. And there's options for that, for how many you want. You know, you can intensity options and how big they are. You can make them smaller if you want. And how many density and stuff. So you can see less dense right there. So that's a fun way. And so why don't you play with that a little bit. The next thing I want to talk about is how to bring in a scan and let's do a drawing, and so we can practice our pen tool. The scan I'm going to bring in is some scans that I have here. Let's see. I wanted to bring in the animals here. Let's see some of the animals. My son likes making lots of animals. Oops, it's opening in Photoshop. Okay, here's some scans that my son has drawn. One thing I could do is before I bring it in, I might rotate it inside of Photoshop. There they go. Okay, and then maybe even increase some contrast inside of Photoshop. And if you haven't learned Photoshop yet, I recommend learning Photoshop right away. And so I'm just going to save this again. Okay, so probably the easiest way is to save it as a JPEG to bring it into, and right now it's in a TIFF format, which comes into Illustrator also, but it is a big file. As you can see, it's 10 megabytes when I run over it. I could have saved it, and maybe I will open that up again.